Hi, my name is Alex Swope, and today we're going to be talking about Rhody Electronics, a difficult client. So first, let's talk about the background. And the background starts with the who. So who are we talking about? We're talking about Denise Norris, who is a manager for Finch & Jones, which is a regional audit firm in Rhode Island. And then you have Alan Morse, who is the controller of Rhody Electronics, who is actually a client of Finch & Jones. So first, the dilemma comes into play as the auditor is going into a client meeting, right? So we have Denise going into client meeting with Alan. So a couple things that Morse brought up beforehand. Three key things that I'll point out is he has a question about revenue recognition. He has a question about why is there additional selections made on their accounts receivable, and why the firm is hiring an outside consultant for their information to test the information systems. Now, Denise thinks it's a good time to bring up a couple things that are on her mind. And as an auditor, she brings up why the documents that they're requesting is not being provided in a timely manner. Inquiries given by staff or the manager to the client staff is not being helpful in their audit. And why did Morse request that a staff member in the audit be removed from the client? So those are things that she'll bring up. So really, let's talk about the client role in raising issues related to the planning and execution of the audit. Now really, the client has no right in the planning and execution. Now, why is that? It's because there's an independence factor, right? If the client is saying, hey, this is how we want you to do X, Y, Z of the audit, it's going to be done to it's not going to be an external audit, but more of an internal audit of what they want to have looked at, instead of from an auditor perspective, where they need to come up with that plan independently. So clients raise issues, though, about the timeliness of the audit, if the auditor fails to meet professional standards, and then also specific accounting issues that they might struggle with. These are all things that the client should be able to bring to the auditor and get further clarification. So really now, let's look at the role of an ethical leadership, right? So first, as a manager in the audit firm, a manager needs to be calm and collected in matters like this. Going into a client meeting that might have high tempers involved. So standing up for the staff is a big key issue with managers. Not just only taking the client side on every single thing, but really standing up for those who are actually doing the work that you are proposed to do. Not being bullied by the client. This is also a big issue. If you're bullied by the client, there's an independence factor that comes into play, and there's a risk that the audit won't be done appropriately. So better cooperation to ensure a successful audit needs to come from both sides. We have first the client side. The client needs to be organized if they have their accounting records in line, and if their company leadership has the right authorities. Those are big parts of the client organization. Now, really, both sides, in order to make this work, is going to have a successful communication, right? Working together, this is a mutually beneficial partnership. So there's multiple things that they can do to work together in order to make it more beneficial. And then also more understanding and more patience with one another, from the auditor perspective and from the client perspective. Now, the most persuasive arguments by the auditor in addressing these points made by Alan and also her, but really the first part is she needs to address the technical accounting issue, the revenue recognition, using applicable guidance that helps Alan understand what he needs to be looking for in doing revenue recognition. Additional audit work is performed to gain assurance, right? This is all about gaining assurance that there's no risk of material misstatement. And then finally, to address the hiring of an outside consultant for information systems, this is actually commonly used. And so explaining that to Alan will help him understand why an outside consultant is needed, because with their expertise. So really, to conclude, the communication is key in understanding each side of the audit. The manager needs to be present and helpful to answer these questions from Alan. And actually, an absent manager really puts a damper on the audit because that is your first point of contact. And with that, I leave with you. Thanks.